Yeah, so welcome back to yet another video on discrete mathematical structures. In our previous discussion, we were talking about some basics on sets. We saw some basic definitions and we took some examples as well. And then we looked into what basically the equal sets are. Post which we saw how to represent the sets. That means whether it is in the format of roster form or in the form of set builder format. Roster is also called as your tabular form as well. Sorry. And your set builder is called as your rule method. So we saw two ways to display it. Afterwards, we looked into set theory, that what basically it is, what's the usage, what's the real life usage of it, the symbols, and we saw some examples on your tabular format or the roster format. We saw some examples of set builder format as well. Afterwards, we had a discussion on disjoint sets, where we said that okay, if there are two sets A and B and we are going in a format of, let's say, A intersection B, which is equals to null, so in that case, or an empty set, then these two sets are said to be the disjoint sets. Afterwards, we saw some more definitions and some terminologies where we saw the cardinal number, which is nothing but the size of a set. Afterwards, we had a talk on universal set and your empty set as well, where we said that okay, there isn't any number. We also said that this empty set is nothing but your null set. That means a set with no elements, and we said we'll be denoting it by this symbol. Afterwards, we looked into subsets, right? That what basically these subsets are and how to represent it, right? If it is there in the format of this, then your B, this A is nothing but a subset of B, and you can represent it like this. Then we saw some theorems. We saw what basically is a superset, and then we looked into your proper subset. And since we are talking about this, so definitely we are going to talk about some operations on the sets, where we had observed that okay, there are multiple operations which can be performed on your sets, and these operations can be your union, your intersection, your complements, your symmetric difference, but since we had just a simple discussion on these, so today we are going to talk about all these operations in our coming slides. So to start with, what we'll do is we'll lift the topic from the universal set, right? We had some informal discussion on it, but today we are going to formally cover this particular topic, and we'll try to see some theorems as well. So to start with, what we have is we have something called as your universal set and the empty set. So in that case, what we have is that in any application of set theory, if all the sets under the investigation are likely to be considered are subsets of a particular set, and this set is nothing but the universal set. So my universal set, which is denoted by capital U, this is also called as the universe of discourse. And denoted by this particular symbol. Now the next thing is your empty set. So from the title itself, you might have got the idea that this is something which is also called as your null set, represented by this symbol. And we say that a set with no elements is your empty set or the null set. And the point to be noted is that there is only one empty set. I cannot have more than one empty set, right? Empty set means a set with no elements, so that's something which is unique. Universal means the entire contents of which every set will be a subset. Every set is a subset. But what basically a subset is, let's once again formally look into this particular part. So every element in a set, let's say A, are also an element of a set B, then your A is called a subset of B, and you can represent this by these symbols. That means A is a subset of B, or you can represent it using this. Now you have to notice one thing, that if A is a subset of B, then this is going to happen. And what it is, right now it is that we are talking about the number of elements, right? We will separately talk about this particular thing once again, but looking at this particular definition, you might have got an idea that if A is a subset of B, then obviously now we are talking about the number of elements in the set. So right now this symbol, I guess you will be able to recall, here it is nothing but the cardinal number of sets A and B. Right. Also, let me add something else as well. If A is equivalent to B, then I am going to observe this as well. Right. In this case, that means the numbers of number of elements in A are equal to number of elements in B as well. Now, don't get confused in your cardinality is also denoted by this as well. So, if somewhere I am using this particular thing or I am using this particular thing, so both the things are same. So, this was about subset, right? We have some more terms associated to this subset, which are like proper subset, superset and all. We'll talk about those terms in the coming slides. If in this particular scenario, for this particular setup, if at least one element of A does not belong to B, then we say that A is not a subset of B, and in that case, how we represent is we write this particular thing as A is not a subset of B, or I can write it in this format as well. Now let's see some theorems associated with this particular topic. So what we have is that for any set A, I'll always come across this kind of situation. That means here I am addressing your null set, and here I am addressing your universal set or the universe of discourse. So for any set A, this particular set will always be a subset of universal set, and null set will always be a subset of that particular set. I hope I am able to convey this particular point, and these are something which are like very basic items. Now next is, for any set A, A is always a subset of A. That means a subset is going to be a subset of itself. So whatever elements are there in this, so obviously it will be there in this. So definitely I am going to observe this kind of setup where a particular set is always a subset of itself. Now if A is a subset of B and B is a subset of C, then A is a subset of C. Right, this kind of setup you might have already observed in various properties related to numbers, sets and other stuff. Right, so obviously if suppose A is a subset of B and B is a subset of C, so I am going to observe that A is always a subset of C, because in any case I may have some values of A. If based on this, B will always have those values, and based on this setup, the entire content of B will be a part of C. So obviously I'll observe that the entire content of A will be in C as well. Now the last one is that if suppose A is equals to B, if and only if A is a subset of B and B is a subset of A. Right, in that case obviously A is going to have the contents of B, here B is going to have contents of A. So from this and this, what we get is something like this, that is A is equals to B. These are some very simple theorems, right? You can prove it, prove these theorems in n number of ways. Now next is your number of subsets of a set. That means for a particular set A, how many number of subsets I can have. So if suppose I have a set A and it has, let's say, n elements, in that case the number of subsets of A will be 2 to the power n. Right, so for example, let's say I have a set A, which is equals to, let's say, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. So here what I see is that the number of elements, which is n, is 5 here. So the total number of subsets will be 2 to the power n, which is 2 to the power 5, which gives me a result of 32. Right. So with this simple formula of 2 to the power n, where n is the number of elements of a set A, I can simply find out the available or the possible number of subsets. Now this was all about subsets. Now next is your superset. So if suppose I have two sets A and B in a form of, let's say, a subset of B, then your B is called the superset of A. And you can write it as in this particular manner. Right, if you recall, we have already used this kind of notation or the representation in case of subsets. Now in order to explain the superset, once again we are using it in this format. So if suppose I have a subset of B, then which is A, then B is simply called as your superset of A, and you can write it as this, and you have to read it as B is a superset of A. Now we were talking about sets, size of sets, empty sets, we saw subset, we saw superset. Now let's talk about proper subset. So when we observe a situation where we identify that I have a situation where A is a subset of B and A is not equal to B. In this case, we say A is a proper subset of B. And we write this thing as A a proper subset of B. So I'm removing this particular equal to bar. So basically when A is a proper subset of B, that means there is at least one element in B which does not belong to A. Something, at least something is extra in B. That's what the basic crux is. Right. For example, let's take a simple example for the sake of understanding. I have, let's say, A equals to, let's say, I have like 3, I have 8, I have, let's say, 9. Then I have, let's say, B equals to, let's say, 1, 5, 6. And I have an additional set C, which is, let's say, 1, 2, 4, 3, 5, 6, 8, or let's say 9 as well. And in this case, if we carefully observe that 3, 8, 9 are there. So A is a subset of C. 1, 5, 6. Similarly, B is a subset of C. And since there are some elements in C which does not either belong to A or B, that means A is not equal to C, B is not equal to C, then what we have is we get A as proper subset of C and B as proper subset of C. So from here we have moved to here just because I have this additional feature added to it. Right, so we are moving step by step. We saw subsets. Now then we looked into superset, and now we are talking about your proper subset, right? Now let's talk about operations on set, right? So here we are going to discuss several operations that will combine given sets and will produce a new set. So to start with, what we have is we have something called as union. Now this union is denoted by A union B, which is AUB, and this is the set of all elements which belong to A or to B, right? So how we represent is A union B is X, where your X either belongs to A or belongs to B. That means A union B will have the elements which are there in A or in B. And how we read it is, for A union B, we read it as A union B, or we say union of A and B. So don't get confused if you are using either of these ways to present this particular operation. And what it will consist? It will consist all the elements belonging to either set A or set B. Let's take some example, right? So in that case, let's say I have two sets A and B, and it is represented like, let's say A is having, let's say 1, 2, B is having, let's say 5, 6. So my A union B will be having 1, 2, 5, 6. As simple as this. So this was about your union operation. Your next operation is intersection. So this intersection operation is denoted by this symbol. So for two sets A and B, your A intersection B is the set of elements which belong to both A and B. That means the common elements. So it can be represented as your X, where X exists in A and X exists in B as well. Right. So how we read this A intersection B is that it is A intersection B, or intersection of A and B both. So what we get is that out of the intersection, we are getting the common elements. We are getting the common elements. Let's take one example. If suppose I have a set A which is like 1, 2, 3. I have B which is like 1, 3, 6. So A intersection B will be 1, 3 only. So these two elements are the common ones, and those two elements are going to be the part of the intersection of these two sets. Now, another operation is your complements. So, if I have a set A, and we know that this A is a subset of universal set, right, where universal set is represented by U. In that case, the absolute complement, in some of the literatures you will find it is called as absolute complement, or simply complement of this particular set A is denoted by A prime or A with a superscript of C, and it will be the set of elements which belongs to universal set U but do not belong to A. And you can represent it, let's say if I have a set A, so A complement or AC is equals to, we'll have the set of elements X where X exists in universal set and X does not exist in A. That means exclude the elements which are there in the set A and keep the remaining entire content excluding those things from the universe of discourse or the universal set. So this was about complements. There is also a term which is called as, this was absolute complement, right? There is something called as, let me introduce here only, a relative complement. So this is of a set B with respect to A is nothing but a difference of A and B, and this can be denoted by A by B, or you can call it as A minus B, and what we get is A minus B is equals to X, where X belongs to A and X does not belong to B. So it's a relative complement. Instead of universe of discourse, I have something which is another set in the form of B. Another operation is, and this is something which is a very interesting one. This is your symmetric difference. This is your symmetric difference, and the symmetric difference is also called as your Boolean sum. So your symmetric difference or the Boolean sum is represented by A symmetric difference, a plus with a circle, B, or in some of the literatures you will find as A delta B. So this is the set of elements that belongs to A or to B, but not to both A and B. That means either it is there in A or it is there in B, but it is not present in both. That means I am excluding that particular intersection element. Right. So what we do is that we write this in a format of A symmetric difference B, which is equals to X, where X exists in A or your X exists in B, that means this particular element, but not in both. Right. So this you can also write in this format, that A symmetric difference B is equals to A minus B union B minus A. A very simple thing, right? What we are trying to do is, I'm trying to get the different elements or the unique elements. This can also be written as X, where X belongs to exactly one of A and B. Right, let's take one example so the things will be much more clearer. So let's say I have A as, let's say, -2, 0. Let's take some more values, 1, 2, and B is, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4. So A minus B is -2, 0. We got the unique ones. B minus A is 3, 4. Once again the unique ones. So A symmetric difference B will be A minus B union B minus A. Sorry. So what we get from here is, we are getting -2, 0 union 3, 4. So ultimately what I am getting is, I am getting -2, 0, 3, 4. This is what the symmetric difference of A and B is. And one thing to note is that you don't have to worry about the sequence of these numbers. In a set, the sequence hardly matters. So this was all about the operations on the set. Now we are going to see its usage, and we are going to get much more clarity with the help of Venn diagrams, right? So you will get some more clarity with the help of your Venn diagrams.